And Jamie, we've got, thankfully, one of the greatest Premier League attackers, and I'll give you your flowers as well, Jamie. One of the
We've done this before.
Greatest defenders.
It didn't end well.
Actually, we've got the clip.
We've done this before.
So, Jamie, what are you thinking about? How do you stop Thierry?
Well, to be honest,
I'm coming here.
As I said, I think in a situation where somebody is running like you've got space and there's no real covering defenders, so I think it's going to be very difficult to stop you getting a shot away. Now, the absolute great defenders, you mentioned Van Dijk before, would be able to maybe push him on one side and maybe get that block. But more often than not, if I'm in that situation, I'm trying to think, what's the less chance of him getting a goal? Where's he going to get from? Now, the problem with him going inside is that the goal opens up. Now, there was a situation, I think, where Anderson was here initially, and you've almost got to say, go on, you can have your shot on your right foot. So that's what I'd be trying to do. Let you have the shot in some ways.
Then what you do also when you do that, you maybe allow Castagne to have the time to go back in if he goes that way. But then if I see that at that particular moment, when he does this, and I'm good with my right, I might go there. And then for him at that particular moment, he will never get the ball because you push the ball diagonally. And then you try to see if you can score. But then he did at that moment, make it more difficult for me to score. It doesn't mean that I won't score. I mentioned Van Dijk because I've seen him defending like that against Mbappe, and last year against Haaland, I don't know if you remember, he showed him one way, and at one point he put his arm on him, and the striker couldn't generate power.
I think you talk about Van Dijk and what he's got that added sort of strength to give the knock. But I think you're working together with the goalkeeper. So imagine you go, if I'm showing you there, so tonight you send Semenyo that side,
that way.
and I go, and if I stay here, what I'm trying to do is block that shot right into the far corner. I can't block the goal, but I've got to back my goalkeeper. I have to say, OK, if you're going to score, you might score at the near post. That's maybe down to my goalkeeper or the middle of the goal, but I'm going to try and block you because I can't get in a situation where I'm stopping him going on his left and then get a cross to stop that. It can't. This is all happening in a split second. You think the power of Semenyo, the ability, the pace of him.
And that first touch, Jamie, was inside. It was already coming in a diagonal line at the goal. So you're trying to think, how do I not do that cardinal sin of turning your back as Anderson did and showing your shirt number?
Because basically he's there and he thinks, I've got to get there. The quickest way I can get there is that.
Yeah.
That's what he thinks. That's what it's all about. But once, as Thierry says, once you go there, what do you... So you're there, you're showing them there. So really, you want to be quick feet and in there. But as I said, this is all happening in a split second.
No, we're talking here. When you see someone coming, I won't say full speed. That wasn't full speed. Then he has both options. If he just put it that way. But Jamie just said something that's very important, and one of the best that I've seen is Lilian Thuram was doing this. If you want to ever turn and maybe don't make him think that you're going to cut that, you got to then be on that leg then to turn. You can't turn like this. So you
tell us that again. Tell us that again.
So I'm showing Jamie. Why am I a defender now?
Because you're Lilian Thuram.
Yeah, because there is a great clip, by the way, on internet. Go and check it out against Roma. He did something. So when you're backpedaling. If he ever goes here, you got to stay on this leg to still face the player. You can't turn. What am I defending here? Do you understand what I mean? So if you can go, I go with Jamie, he goes inside. You need to turn on this leg. I'm not saying that you will stop him, but you have a chance here. You still see what he can do.
So you're talking about this. I find that interesting because when I was sort of defending, I'm just trying to work it out. So you're talking about putting your weight on your back leg.
I'm saying, that's what Thuram used to do. I've never been in that situation, but I saw him and I always asked him, how do you do that? Because you're backpedaling, and if he ever goes here, you're still here. But when you're backpedaling, because you're low, you turn on this leg. You don't turn there. It's
interesting that because when you're actually defending and you're here in this position, a lot of the time it's like you're almost swapping. Like
you are.
You're permanently on that foot.
You're ready to jump.
Because that's what it's about. Sometimes you're ready to go back. Sometimes you're ready to go forward. Why does David Brent always end up on Monday Night Football? Honestly.
Sorry, the other point that Thierry said was getting low. And that's something that you talk about as well. So when you're the attacker, when you were the attacker, was it defenders that got low into that position the trickiest to face?
The way I was dribbling, I was always looking at the feet of the defender, always. If you ever make the mistake to put your heels on the ground, gone. If I see you like this, if I see this, gone, then we start to dance. Once you do this, we can dance a long time, tango, salsa, whatever you want. Once you give me this, I can make you turn. He could have chopped back again and go that way.
And just the other thing for young defenders who might be watching, if they're in the position that Jamie's in now, just straight on.
One thing that I
also
will say,
a problem?
you know why Van Dijk is one of the best? We will say people will debate who was the best or not the best. He always will delay. One thing that is very important. Defending well is not always getting the ball back. Do not get beaten. Don't get beaten. I know it's easy for me to say that, but don't get beaten. Delay, 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 and you will see. That's a different situation. That's a different situation. Delay, delay. You couldn't delay that. I'm just saying, the thing as defenders sometimes, they always go, you defend the ball and the goal. And they always want to get the ball back quickly. I'm not talking about this situation. I'm just saying when you're a defender, if you didn't get beaten, and if you delay, you defended well.
But sometimes it's interesting you talk about Van Dijk, because I said he never ever lets anybody go inside.
Nope.
But then there are some times when I look and I think,
Yes.
can you do a bit more to stop the
Yes.
shot or the cross? I go back to the European Cup final against Real Madrid,
When he goes
where
like
he was a little bit, he was so almost just, he was so determined not to get beaten on one side. He almost just leaves a sort of a lazy leg.
The only guy that I've seen taking advantage of that is Matheus Cunha at Liverpool. When he dummied shooting and Van Dijk turned. I don't know if you remember that goal.
Yeah, he come in on the left foot.
Come inside. More often than not a lot of people will keep their calm in this type of situation. So overall, he said to people, beat me. He doesn't give you the option. You beat me. And more often than not, out of 10 times, he will win 8 or 9.
Brilliant. Absolutely fascinating, guys. Thank you very much for that. More dancing to come here on Monday Night Football before we're done. We've done the salsa. We've done, what else have we done?
Tango.